Joining us now is Trump campaign senior press representative Haley Baumgardner. Haley, good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. So what does Team Trump think about last night's victories, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump?
Last night was a great night. 2 more states for Mr. Trump. We've campaigned hard in both states, and it's indicative of us continuing on the path to victory to gain the presidency in November.
All right, so are we going to see Donald Trump changing his campaign strategy at all in coming days? Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski defending the decision to start fundraising for the general election. Listen to this.
Mr. Trump is elected president. He wants to have the majorities in both the House and the Senate so he can work to achieve his legislative agenda, which means he's going to help raise money for the party, which means making sure those down ballot races, those Senate races, those House races have the resources necessary to be successful. So he will be raising money for the party for the general election for sure.
All right, Haley, your response?
Well, I think, Corey is clearly right. That's why he is the campaign manager, of course. But, we are potentially up against the Clinton machine. And it is time, once and for all, that we reclaim the White House and send the Clintons packing. And in order to do that, we need to raise funds. And, we're prepared to do that, again, in order to attain the victory of the White House in November.
David Webb is here, Haley.
Haley, I have a question for you, and it's more about the strategy that Trump has to take going forward. He's right in that by gaining all those voters, more than any other candidate in the primary, that's a big indicator. But there aren't enough Republicans to win the general election. We need libertarians, we need independents, we need blue-collar Democrats. The Democrats have an advantage in the Electoral College. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida. How does Trump turn that around and get that advantage away from the Democrats?
Well, I think the latest Quinnipiac poll, which just recently was out, Mr. Trump is ahead in Ohio. He is in a dead heat in Florida and Pennsylvania. He is already reaching across party lines and tapping into that voting base and expanding the reach, of a typical Republican Party candidate. This has never happened before in history, and that's what we're seeing, and that's what we'll continue to do up until and through November.
But, Haley, President Obama, when he ran against Mitt Romney, they both spent more than $1.1 billion each. And in terms of fundraising, doesn't the Trump campaign, and this is finding love on a two-way street, Paul Ryan and his ilk need to get along with Trump, and Trump and his campaign need to get along with him if you really want to bring those donors on board. You'd agree with that?
I think that, tomorrow, as Mr. Trump meets with Speaker Ryan, I think they'll have a very collegial meeting. And I think the focus is, as Mr. Trump is the presumptive nominee, and he will be the Republican nominee, unifying the party moving forward. Absolutely.
All right, so I want to look at this exit poll with you, Haley, among West Virginia Democrats. If Hillary Clinton were to take on Donald Trump in the general election, more than 60% of Sanders supporters say that they would go for Trump. Is this something that would surprise you as someone within the Trump campaign, or is this something that you expected?
Well, in terms of West Virginia, I do want to make it very clear that I was born and raised in West Virginia, so I know the demographic and the political landscape extremely well. That being said, no, I'm not surprised. Look, Hillary Clinton blew into town and basically said she was going to shut down or continue to allow coal to be shut down. That is basically telling people that she does not care how they put food on their tables. And there are 3 things that matter to West Virginia voters: God, guns, and coal.
How much of that do you expect countrywide, though? And I want to bring you in here, too, Brian and Kat, that I won't vote for Hillary Clinton. I'll vote for Bernie Sanders, but if he's out of the race, I'm going to Trump.
Yeah, well,
this was a Republican fantasy, we were told originally.
The thing about Trump and Sanders is they've been clear throughout the campaign. They've had very pro-worker rhetoric. Throughout. The problem with Clinton's campaign is she just hasn't been clear. She's sort of buffeted and moved, and Sanders has pulled her left. She's gone left. But you've got the 2 candidates with clear messages, and you can see that resonating in places like West Virginia. And I think that's going to be true across the rest of the United States, especially in sort of the so-called Rust Belt areas where you see these issues really on the rise.
Yeah, well, the coal comment is obviously maybe people in a larger base like that because, climate change is a huge issue on the liberal side. But it kind of shows shows a lack of political strategy, or, you know, for somebody who's been in this for so long, you should know that you can't just flat out say, I want to shut down coal. It's just stupid. It's a dumb move, and it kind of just shows that, come on, her strength should be that she's good at this, especially since now being seen as someone who's been in, you know, politics is seen as a negative in this race. She can't even spin that as a positive by being able to finesse her words a little more.
All right.
Can I quote, to Haley's point, I can quote Chuck Yeager, maybe one of the most famous people born in West Virginia. We might be raw and uneducated, but we know right from wrong, and we can spot a phony before they ever say their first word. And that was Hillary Clinton's problem.
All right. All right. Well, you know what, Haley, I was going to give you last word.
Sorry.
Dagan took it, but I think your last word actually did get in, and that was amen. All right. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, straight ahead, Facebook sparking outrage among Senate Republicans. Why the social network's employees and Mr. Zuckerberg himself could be heading to Capitol Hill. And Uber agreeing to a union deal in New York. What the settlement means for drivers and you. We'll be right back.